Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano Catch-Up, where we look back at the main news, items, events within the Cardano ecosystem that caught my eye this week. So Djed and SHEN going live was big. Liqwid Finance went live yesterday. A few other bits from around the ecosystem. Some interesting stats and metrics on the rise again. Timestamps will be down below. Share it out if you think others can benefit. Give the video a like, comment questions, or anything that's missing. I do appreciate it. Let's jump into it. Before we get into the main topics, a quick look at the channel this week. I put out a video earlier in the week on Djed and SHEN, talking about how it works, some of the complexities there. Also talking about some of the discussions within the community on minimums and fees and things like that as well. So I'd say that's a good one to give you a base of what's going on with Djed and SHEN. And now in this one today, we look at what has happened since then. But that would definitely be a good base of information there. Yesterday, I had some of the founders from the Liqwid Finance team on. DC, Dwayne, and Florian came on to talk about the launch because it went live yesterday. We talked about what's there, what's in version 1, what's coming soon, and talked through how lots of different things on the platform works. And I'll go through some of them here as well. The Wednesday live stream, myself and Paddy were joined by Guillermo from Woodland Pools. Great to have Guillermo on. We met at the Cardano Summit last year. We went through the usual, all the main topics within Cardano, gave our own opinions, and then we had a bit of a talk about the technical side of Cardano, where it is now, because Guillermo has been diving down the rabbit hole of Haskell and Plutus, so it's great to get his input on what he thinks or where we are right now. Across cryptocurrency, generally DeFi Llama is one of the best sites to keep up to date about what protocols are live on what blockchains and where TVL and different metrics are sitting for them. So you can see Djed going in at number 4 with $11.69 million worth of TVL right now, and then Liqwid coming in at 1.6. I would say what's live on Liqwid right now is very basic, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Then a site that I've showed here a lot of times on the channel, Cardano Blockchain Insights. One stat that was very interesting this week was 24-hour active addresses. So during January, you can see it was fine. It was moving up and down. But then this week, when Djed launched and then Liqwid Finance, you can really see the spike in the number of active addresses over a 24-hour period. You can see payments here starting to move up as well. But these are things that I might start tracking on a weekly basis to see how things go, because as we get more protocols live on Cardano, it's great for the overall ecosystem, and we should start to see more users starting to come back in as well as with the overall markets starting to look a little bit better right now. Another site I found this week that I thought was really good for a one-page overview of what's going on with Cardano, from price to metrics about the blockchain and everything that's going on, was peerreview.money. We talked about it in the live stream during the week as well. So this week we got the launch of Djed, the over-collateralized / algorithmic stablecoin for Cardano, which was launched by Coty on the Cardano network. So you have Djed as the stablecoin. 1 Djed should equal $1 due to the over-collateralization. And then SHEN is the reserve coin. So I talked more about the dynamic between these and some of the advantages and disadvantages of them in the video earlier in the week. So I'd say check that one out for a deeper understanding. I'll do some very high-level overview here, and then we'll look at what has happened since it went live. So the reserves currently sit at 632%. So this measures how much is sitting in the reserves to back up the Djed that's in circulation. So there's 1.8 million Djed, or $1 million in circulation right now. To back that up, there is 29 million ADA, and that's worth around $11.7 million or Djed. And this here is the ADA that has been put in to mint Djed and to mint SHEN. Now, some of the reasons people might mint SHEN is because of, if they think the price of ADA is going to go up, hopefully that will help the price of SHEN as well. It will help in a small way, not a massive way, and it depends on the volumes that are sitting there as well as that the ADA that sits in the reserves will be staked, and then the ADA rewards for that are paid out to SHEN holders. Now, initially it was talked that it would only be to SHEN holders that hold the SHEN in their wallets, but now they're looking at ways to do it. So even if you provide SHEN as liquidity on exchanges or on dexes, then you should be able to get the airdrops as well. But I would say wait for official confirmation on that one. So that's the two of them there. Now, 1 Djed should equal $1. Now you can see here that this has gone up to $1.02 right now on CoinGecko, or as CoinGecko track it. It was down at 97 cents yesterday. And generally this will fluctuate. Now, one of the reasons that this is fluctuating so much here at the minute is because CoinGecko right now is only tracking Bitrue, which is the centralized exchange that has listed Djed, and Minswap as well. But the liquidity on both of them right now is very low, so it doesn't take much to move the price. So if you are trading for Djed or SHEN on any of the Cardano dexes or on Bitrue over the next few days, I would say make sure you check the liquidity before you go trading and check the slippage that you're going to get. Wingriders is currently the only one that has some decent liquidity there that should be able to handle most orders, but I think Minswap are going to have more liquidity in the next few days, and hopefully we see it on other dexes as well. But in general, if you look at the chart here, so you can see it moves like this. But the reason that it should always keep its peg is because if someone can buy it at 97 cents here, they could then come over to the contract over here, go to the Djed stablecoin and come in and burn the Djed and get the dollar value of ADA back from that. So if they can buy it below $1, they can generally make a profit, and that's where arbitrageurs will come in. Now there are fees when you do it and minimums at the contract here, so they will come into play as well, but generally that's what will keep the price of Djed in around that $1 mark. So since launch, Cody have put out this yesterday talking about the recap, so it was successful. We talked about some of the metrics here about what it looks like. Yesterday it was 28 million ADA on the platform. We're up to 29 now. They talk about it going up to 800% the reserve ratio 3 hours after launch. And I did talk about that in the video earlier in the week. It did go up above 800% as well. When it got to that level, you couldn't mint any more SHEN, but you could burn it, and you could mint and burn Djed as well. And it even went up above 800% because of the price of ADA at the time was going up as well. So that meant the reserves that are sitting there were worth more in terms of dollar value to back up the Djed that was in circulation. So they talk here about the numbers on what has been minted and burned. So we can see the minted because that is there in circulation. But it's interesting to see that people are using the burn function as well. So you can see 40k was burned and 73k SHEN was burned as well. At the time of this, reserve was 623. Right now, the reserve is sitting at 632%, which is a nice healthy number to have it at. They talk about the TVL here, and I've kind of highlighted, you can see Wingriders have the most TVL or the most liquidity sitting there at the minute, but the other dexes are working to get more liquidity as well. And the same with Bitrue. Order books are a little bit thin. Hopefully we see more added over the next. Any questions on Djed or anything like that, how it all works, let me know, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video to my one earlier in the week. I will be talking to Shahaf the week after next. He's coming back on, so any questions you have, I can put them to him at that point as well. Another launch this week was the long-awaited launch of Liqwid Finance, and in the end, it nearly felt a bit rushed when it came out. So last week they said it was going to launch this week, but we hadn't had much of a testnet yet. We got a testnet earlier this week, and looking around, I would say maybe it should have stayed on testnet a little bit longer because there are some errors on the platform. People having some issues in borrowing. I personally have been able to supply liquidity here, but I haven't been able to borrow yet because I keep getting errors on that. The UI probably needs a bit of work as well, but it is good to have this functionality live. It doesn't make full sense to people just yet on the use cases for this because ADA is the only asset. Now, when I had DC and Florian on yesterday, we talked about that, what's live now and what's coming, and some of the use cases that will be there. Next week, I will do a full video on how to use it, diving into providing liquidity or providing collateral, then taking out loans, and some of the reasons why you might do that as well. But on a high level, the way something like this works is on the left hand side here, you have the assets that you can supply. So you can provide liquidity to this. So you can see there's an APY on this. So if I provide liquidity, I've provided 200 ADA in this test. I'm earning an APY of 0.88% on that. Now that is on top of staking rewards as well. Now, when you do provide liquidity, this was something people were asking. Yes, you do give up custody because you send your ADA into the smart contract. So there's always some risk there that if something happens to contract, but that's where splitting your portfolio into sections. For me, I have different percentages assigned to different types of activities. I do have a DeFi play part of my portfolio, and part of that goes into things like this as well, when you know the risks of what you're getting into. So you provide one asset on this side, and then you can borrow against that on the other side. Now you might just come in and provide your asset as liquidity and not do the borrow on the other side and just earn the extra APY. For me, earning 0.88% APY on top of my staking rewards isn't enough for me to put much into this in terms of the risk to reward ratio. Now they will be looking at, we talked about it yesterday, bootstrapping certain pairs as well. So they will be paying LQ token out to people as well to incentivize more people to provide liquidity. And it's at that point things start to get more interesting. We also talked about the 6x yield. DC went through all the different levels, how that works. 2 of them are live now, but over the next while we'll start to see other ones come in. And that's when there's a lot more interesting plays to make with something like this for me. And I will be documenting that and talking about different ways I'm using it as well. So on the other side, the assets to borrow. So you can see you can only do ADA right now. There's 4.2 million ADA sitting in liquidity. And the APY on this side is the interest rate you would pay. And both of these APYs are dynamic. So they're going to move up and down depending on the demand and supply that's in the system. But on this side, right now, you wouldn't really supply ADA as liquidity and then borrow ADA and pay a fee for borrowing ADA out. But when more assets get added in, we'll say next week, I think we should see more come into this, then it gets more interesting. So I could provide ADA as collateral on this side and take a loan out of, let's say, token X on this side. I think the token X price is going to drop. So I could put in collateral, borrow token X from the system, go and sell that on the open market, wait for the market to drop. If it does drop, then I can come back in and buy back the amount of token X I need to repay my loan. And then I can keep the difference in price. I keep that profit. And maybe I've potentially earned extra rewards here for some of the collateral I've provided if I haven't used all of that in the loan as well. There's lots of complexities to it. And when we have more assets, I will come back in and show you how to use that. I've been able to provide liquidity right now, but the borrow side doesn't seem to be fully working. And for me, it didn't really matter when we don't have other assets yet. But I have seen lots of people talking about that they can't borrow. I did try to do it, but I got some errors on the platform. And I think the team are working to try and get all of that fixed up. One thing that people have talked a lot about is the inflation rate of the LQ token. So right now there isn't much LQ in circulation. So that helped really push the price of the LQ token up, and Smart Contract Audit Token has done a good thread on it here. I can leave a link to this one down below where it talks about the LQ release per month. So now that the protocol is live, we're going to start getting user distribution. So there will be LQ staking as well, where you earn rewards for holding the LQ token, but also the bootstrapping, which I talked about there, and the incentivizing people to actually come in and provide liquidity or to actually borrow. They will be paying people LQ for that as well. So that's all going to come out of the user distribution incentives. And if you look at the breakdown of how often that's going to come out, every month there will be 207,000 LQ coming in, and out of the team and founders and advisors, there will be 218,000 coming into circulation for that as well. So that means 426,000 LQ coming into circulation every month. If you contrast this to the LQ on Minswap, Wing Riders and Sunday right now was about 86,000 LQ. So you really need a lot of use cases and utility for the token to allow a buy side for something like this. Right now, it looks like there will be a far bigger sell side for the LQ token than buy side. So take things like this into account when you're looking to buy into tokens. For me, I'm bullish on the protocol right now if they can fix up the issues that's there, but the token price in the short term, I don't see much happening on that because there will be lots of farming going on there. But again, everyone do your own research. Now, DC has put in a proposal here to reduce some of that sell pressure. Now, they were meant to be doing a CZI over on Minswap, and we talked about this in the call yesterday as well, how it was all going to work. But due to things like this and the community worrying about the supply, they have put this proposal together. I don't think this really will make a huge difference, but it might make some. It says here about cancelling the CZI. It's basically where they were going to put a big chunk of LQ token onto Minswap. People have 7 days to come in and put ADA on the other side, and then it would be set as protocol owned liquidity. There's more complexities to it. There's an article to read, and the video yesterday talks about it. But they're looking at cancelling that now and making the user distribution only count for the following markets: ADA and Cardano stablecoins. So they would only really incentivize them markets for people providing liquidity and borrowing on the other side as well. And they've partnered with SundaeSwap for the rewards distribution solution for LQ staking, so they'll be able to pay them out quicker as well. So this will help a little bit. The vote is there at the minute. You can see I have the results showing at the minute. It is 58%, but there's only 74 votes. 58% have gone for yes. I think this will help, but the biggest sell pressure comes from the user distribution and also the core team and founders tokens all coming into supply. This is generally what happens with protocols, and it's a good use case to learn from as well for when you're looking and researching tokens to get into. So then we look at Minswap. So Minswap had a record-breaking month in terms of trading volume, hit 100 million ADA in trading volume. Congratulations to Minswap, continually making improvements, and I really do like these types of things coming out at the end of the month. I would encourage other protocols to start putting these types of things together. They're a great way for the community to see what's going on. So something interesting they're doing as well is this fee switch here, and you can see that they're collecting fees. So they're collecting a small amount of fees from the protocol and putting it back into the ADA Min LP pair. So adding more and more liquidity into the pool all the time. If you look over here on Fee Switch on their site, you can see so far they've collected 53,000 ADA in fees, and that has gone back into the ADA Min LP pair on the DEX as well, which really helps with liquidity. You can see here as well some of the fees that are pending to be collected as well. So really good initiative there, and I know they are working on other things. An interesting thread I thought was worth mentioning here is Subcritical put this one out on Liqwid Finance, talking about how it all works. Liquid, QADA, LQ, the 6x yield, risks, aqua farmers. So you can go down through it there and get a good picture of what's going on. We talked about some of this, or a lot of this kind of stuff in the video yesterday, but if you prefer reading, I would say Subcritical's trade here is a really good one to give you an overview of how it all works. So another good one to take a look at if you want is Sooraj has put another one out here. He puts out a lot of really good threads over on Twitter and talking about the development and the architecture, the structure, especially in terms of sidechains and how they will work for Cardano. So if you want to have a look through that one, it talks all about how it's all going to set up, how sidechains might work, or not might, how they will work with the toolkit brought out by IOG as well. I might do a full video on that type of stuff fairly soon as well for people who like it on the video side, but if you want to read through it, that's a really good place to look as well. In terms of sidechains, WorldMobile talked this week about the AYA testnet. We talked a bit about this last week. AYA is the name that they've given to their sidechain that will run the Earth nodes. So this allows Earth node operators to be a part of the network, which I'm one of them as well. And coming down here in the next few days, AYA will be available on public testnet. Looking forward to seeing that. So there are a few of us have been running on the private testnet, and it seems to be running fairly well the last while. So it looks like that's going to be going to a public testnet in the next few days. So maybe next week I'll have more updates on how that's all looking then as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you got some value from this. Share it out if you have any topics I haven't covered. Do let me know down below if there's any projects I should be looking at on a weekly basis to include them here. Do let me know as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great weekend.